What's up everyone, Tommy with Studio Sense here. Appreciate you tuning in today. Today I'm doing something just a bit different. I don't talk about clones a ton on my channel. I realize that, and that particular deficit of content, you could say, is on purpose. I have a few clones, ones that I consider really good. I don't go out there and pursue a bunch of clones simply because, well, for many reasons, but one of which, there are a ton of clone houses out there. Let me just tell you, there are so many clone houses out there, and it gets to be a bit much, a bit confusing, but it is possible to wade through all the clone houses out there and find a particular few that are really good, and that's what I want to start doing. I'll have more content, including some popular clones, some more popular clones. And so today I'm going to be talking about a clone that is kind of an interesting scent experiment. It is from the house of Armaf. This particular fragrance is actually called Le Parfait pour Homme. Just like the name implies, parfait, it's a combination of a couple really popular, very expensive fragrances, and we're going to get into that in a bit more detail as soon as we come back, so don't go anywhere. I've got that and more coming up. Welcome back everyone. So today we're talking about a clone, and it's not just any clone, it's a pretty interesting kind of scent experiment, you could say. It is from Armaf. Le Parfait pour Homme is a combination of two different fragrances from the same house. It's a combination of Creed Aventus and Creed Green Irish Tweed. Now that sounds like, what? When I first heard about it, when I first read about it, I was like, that's going to be an absolute mess. What a concoction. Creed Aventus is a very forward, in-your-face, kind of smell me, pay attention to me kind of alpha fragrance. And Green Irish Tweed, in its own right, is a very upfront, forward, in-your-face, albeit a bit more mature than Aventus, but still very strong, very permeating, and very alpha. You would be hard-pressed to find two more alpha fragrances. If a fragrance can be alpha, definitely Creed Green Irish Tweed and Creed Aventus are both very forward, very penetrating, heavy fragrances. And so what happens when you put them together? Is it a failed experiment, or did they somehow succeed? And that's what this video is about. I'm going to give you guys my first impressions of Armaf Le Parfait pour Homme. So let's look briefly at the presentation. Armaf is all about the bells and whistles when it comes to a presentation. There's a lot of frou-frou on a lot of their fragrances. It's a pretty cool presentation. I actually like it. So you've got the Armaf seal here with silver accents, and you've got kind of two different textures here. This one is kind of a graphite texture, and then you've got a matte black finish. It's actually a magnetic lid, and I'm not talking about just lightly magnetic. It's pretty good. You can actually hold the bottle up by the magnet. It's a pretty powerful magnet, which is a good nod towards the quality from Armaf. And Armaf is usually pretty good about their quality, especially if they're mimicking a high-priced fragrance. And we're going to get into price a little bit later, because that's kind of a big deal, kind of the reason for clones. Once you take the lid off, you've got this kind of shiny silver, so it's easy to see, easy to hold on to, and the spray quality, it's decent, you know, it's decent. It's not what I would call an A+ atomizer and pump, but it's just average, you know, but it does have that magnetic lid, and that is a plus on the presentation. So Armaf is mimicking the very popular woody, smoky, birchy, masculine Creed Aventus, in addition to the kind of mossy, meadow, smooth, evergreen Green Irish Tweed. Those are amazing fragrances, and if you have the money and you're able to save up and buy yourself even just a bit, just a decant of both, go do that. If you're on a budget, this might be a good alternative. You would think that they would take half the formula of Green Irish Tweed, half the formula of Aventus, combine them. Fragrances don't necessarily work like that because it's chemistry and it's a bit more fuzzy in terms of its logic. Now that we've looked at the presentation a little bit, let's talk about the notes and how we arrive at the combination of Aventus and Green Irish Tweed. In the top, you've got bergamot, black currant, lemon, and pineapple. So it's a very sweet, citrusy open. The heart is a cornucopia of different spicy notes, along with a floral, jasmine, and rose. In the base, we very simply have ambergris or ambroxan, in this case ambroxan, musk, and then a bit of vanilla. When you first spray this on, you get this very bright, citrusy, sweet fragrance that's just kind of overwhelming, in fact. And there's this combination of, and this undercurrent of the lemon, the pineapple, the blackcurrant, and this high citrus note all combined together. So it's kind of hard to see what direction it's going in at first. Once that slightly confusing combination of citrus notes begins to dry down, it moves into this weird kind of synthetic chemical laboratory territory. And I know that sounds terrible. It takes a bit for the notes and the combinations to kind of assert themselves and kind of tell you what direction they're taking. So at first, this fragrance is a bit overwhelming and it is a bit confusing, especially if you've never smelled Creed Aventus or Green Irish Tweed, because it is trying to formulate a combination of these two very alpha-centric fragrances and come up with something that smells similar. To answer the question of my thumbnail, does it succeed? I didn't specifically state it that way, but yes, it actually succeeds. It actually does smell like a combination of Creed Aventus and Green Irish Tweed. Maybe not at first, but again, once those citrus notes settle into some form, then it goes into a bit more organized territory. You start to piece together the different facets of both Creed Aventus and Green Irish Tweed. And then, of course, the base is there to subsidize and support that primary direction of going towards more the Aventus and Irish Tweed DNA. So you do come up with this middle distance that is very much like what you would think Green Irish Tweed and Creed Aventus would be if you were to combine both of those fragrances. So in a lot of ways, Le Parfait, and it is an eau de parfum concentration, that's part of the reason why it's extremely powerful, and I'll put this down, when you first spray it on, is because it does have that little bit heavier concentration of oils. So again, to kind of describe in the timeline of how these things come about to your nose, the first experience is kind of cornucopia of different fruits that then turns into a bit of a synthetic mess and is a bit confusing. That doesn't last very long. I would say maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And then it starts formulating this olfactive idea of the direction it's going. What if Creed Aventus and Green Irish Tweed were to get together half and half? What would it smell like? And it actually is, I think, overall creates a very successful fragrance. Even though it's got some floral notes, you know, you've got some rose, you've got some jasmine, and that's what kind of simulates the smoky birchy, kind of the mossy spruce evergreen coming from both of those fragrances, kind of does its own thing. So when you're playing a song on the piano, you've got your treble clef and your bass clef, you've got your primary song here, and you've got your harmony here. They're doing two different things, but they create this third, very different melody, that harmonious combination of two very different things. And that's basically what's happening with Armaf Le Parfait. It's two different fragrances, but it actually kind of works. It actually smells really good. It actually smells very masculine. And it's got these facets of floral, it's got these facets of citrus, and these facets of musky and vanillic that just seem to work. So the science is there, the science is in, and it is a clone, and it is synthetic in some ways, yes. And it's easy to pick apart the flaws of Le Parfait, but better than the flaws, the overall tonal quality, I think, is a success. And I think it's very good. And I definitely think it's worth wearing. And when you wear this, it feels like you're wearing the best of Creed. Due to the power of eau de parfum and synthetic aroma chemicals, this is a combination of all the above, it tends to last a good 8+ hours. So there is no problem with performance. Le Parfait's performance is great. So it's not a question of performance, it's a question of whether you want to smell like that or not. And I feel like if you are a fan of Creed, and in particular Aventus and Green Irish Tweed, then you are going to like Le Parfait. That floral jasmine gives way to a more masculine sense with a combination of rose and the spicier facets. And then, of course, the musk and vanilla and ambroxan base just gives it a full body. If you were to go out and buy a 100ml bottle of Creed Aventus, you're paying about $300. And that's a discounted rate, right? You're paying close to $300 for that, even as a tester. And if you were to buy a 100ml bottle of Creed Green Irish Tweed, then you're paying about $250 for a 100ml bottle. So you're talking about almost $600 in a combination of two fragrances, and this is $21 at FragranceNet.com. $21, which is kind of crazy. Then again, you know, clones aren't expensive, and that's the benefit, right? That's the attraction of clones, is that they smell very similar to the more expensive, more popular counterparts, very, very much less in terms of cost. So very easy to own this. You're out $20 minimum. maximum 25 bucks maybe for a 100 ml bottle. So is it worth owning? I'd say yes. I'd say yes. Especially if you're living in the world of those two very expensive, very popular, and iconic fragrances. Creed Aventus and Creed Green Irish Tweed. So really the best of Creed in one bottle. So as a scent experiment, I think it is a success. Is it a massive smash hit success? No, I don't think so. But I think they succeeded in doing what they set out to do. And that is pull the primary facets of two very popular fragrances into one and come up with something that isn't exactly the same. It's familiar, but also different. It's like hearing a cover of one of your favorite songs, but the cover's really good. They do a good job. And so you actually sometimes listen to that as opposed to the original. And I think that can be the case with Armaf Le Parfait pour Homme. I will leave a link down below if you are interested in picking that up. I'm actually happy to own this myself, and I do wear it on occasion, and I'm actually wearing it today, and that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about it too. So if you already own it, let me know what your experience with this is like, or if there's another scent experiment out there that you have experienced, that you've picked up, tried out, and whether it was a failed experiment or a successful one, let us know what that's all about in the comments as well. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in to today's video. As always, thank you so much for your continued support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video review.